There we go. Sorry, I was playing around with filters. What's up, guys? It's been longer than a minute. So, this week just sort of got away from me, and I have no good excuse other than work's been really fucking busy. I don't really talk about my day job because it has nothing to do with this, but I work for a laboratory, and we launched a COVID-19 antibody test a couple months ago, and this week we finally, after 2 months, got our FDA authorization. And so I am the sole person in the marketing department. So I've been handling all of the content creation all week long. So needless to say, I've been pretty fucking busy, and I haven't been doing any of these shadow reads for myself or for anyone else. So I'm gonna make up for that today. It's Friday. I've gotten all of my stuff done that I can reasonably expect to accomplish right now on a Friday evening. So I'm gonna take a break and spend a little bit of time, and hopefully we can continue our conversation exploring what is the shadow self to us, how is it showing up for us, how might it be affecting us right now. I have my super fancy Trader Joe's rosé in my super fancy mason jar, because it's Friday and this fucking week is over finally. So those are my first world problems. I've been trying to do the best I can as far as supporting organizations, donations, etc. For the protests that are going on, as I'm not physically able to attend any of them, which is a bummer. But if you are able to attend or support in some way, there's plenty of organizations. If you search under the hashtag Black Lives Matter, that organization can use your donations, but there's lots of others out there that are providing things like bailout funds for protesters that have been arrested, legal aid, etc. So, without further ado, let's get started. The question I'm working with tonight is what shadow traits are going to show up for us or be amplified during this full moon lunar eclipse, which, by the way, is tonight. If you're not familiar with that, tonight is the full moon. It is also what's called a penumbral eclipse. It is our strawberry moon. The reason why it's referred to as a strawberry moon is this is the moon under which many of the season's berries are beginning to be harvested. So historically, this is when strawberries are some of the first berries to be harvested of the season. Some of the other ones are a little bit later, like blackberries are my favorite, and those aren't typically ready until August. So a little bit about the energy of the full moon and the eclipse, because we've got layers of stuff, and then on top of that we've got several planets in retrograde still. That's kind of fucking shit up for some of you guys. Some of you are thriving and some of you are not so much. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but lunar eclipses are essentially where the Earth is in between the moon and the sun. So it's the Earth's shadow that falls across the moon rather than the moon's. So like in a solar eclipse, that's the one that most people are familiar with when they hear eclipse. The sun gets blacked out by the moon, right? Because the full moon, the new moon passes in between the Earth and the sun, and it covers the sun up, right? So a full moon eclipse or a lunar eclipse is an eclipse where the full moon is blocked out by the Earth's shadow. And so what a great time to talk about the shadow, because the Earth's shadow is passing over the moon. And so all of this really glorious full moon energy is happening right now, but then there's also this eclipse. So let's talk about what that means. Eclipses are game changers. They happen, or when lunar eclipses happen, there tends to be very transformative events that go on, right? These are celestial events that have a pretty big impact on us here on Earth, besides just the energy of the full moon. There's going to be unavoidable and unexpected changes. And that doesn't mean bad. It could be good, but it could be bad. Or it could be neutral. Sometimes these changes, we don't really know how they're going to impact us or how they're going to play out until they actually do show up as some sort of result. The full moon is in Sagittarius, okay? So these effects are going to be amplified for those of you whose sun sign or whose, sun sign is Sagittarius. This full moon is also going to make aspects to Venus, which, by the way, is still in retrograde. So the effects of Venus retrograde in terms of communication and your relationships and things like that might further be thrown into chaos. It's also going to make aspects to Mars and Neptune, which are not in retrograde right now. There will be actually 7 planets in retrograde later on this month between the 18th and the 25th, which I personally plan to hide inside my house and not leave for that, whatever that is, 7 days. Anyway, what we're gonna probably see more so than anything is heightened emotions. And I'm gonna be real, you guys. I woke up this morning after like a pretty bad night of sleep and I was in the worst mood and I just wanted to like physically harm people, especially those close to me that like really got on my nerves. I'm a teenage son. So heightened emotions for sure. I actually had to go lay down and like shut my eyes and sleep for like 30 minutes in order to wake up in a better mood. Like I had to like reset myself this morning after already waking up and starting to drink coffee. I was like, fuck this, I can't deal right now. So certainly I'm experiencing those heightened emotions. The big thing that I think a lot of you are going to notice is you're going to experience a strong pull to action of some sort. And so this lunar eclipse in full moon is going to make you feel like you need to go take some kind of action. And this could be on many different levels. This could be in a relationship, because again, Venus is in retrograde. So perhaps you have a relationship that is probably not meant to be and you're just now realizing that, and now you're spurred into action, right, to do something about it. And that could be ending the relationship, but it could also be fixing it, right, if it is a relationship that you want to keep. You're also going to feel the pull to make a lot of changes and move forward and make progress, so evolve and transform. So like I said before, lunar eclipses are a transformative celestial event. Lots of changes and transformations happen during these lunar eclipses, or they are begun, right? The process of that transformation is begun. We're going to see a lot of revelations and changes, especially within ourselves. Normally, full moon energy is best for, spells that are constructive, so asking for things, gaining things, creating, building, right, versus destructive, like banishing, getting rid of, clearing out. So that constructive energy is best focused inward on a lunar eclipse. Doesn't mean you can't do other constructive magic on these nights, but it is really going to be beneficial focusing inward. And so again, the topic of shadow selves and shadow work, that's why I'm doing this one tonight, for sure. I couldn't miss it. And then also we're going to see an opportunity to get rid of some emotional baggage. So that would be some of the things that you're looking at inwardly with yourself. And when we get to our actual cards here in a minute, it might help you think of some things as far as that emotional baggage. What are some of those things you might be carrying that you need to sort of take a look at? So let's start. Just as sort of a reminder, when I do these shadow reads, I'm using 2 decks. Sometimes I only use this one, and then other times I use both. So the main deck that I'm using is the Darkwood Tarot. And this deck is actually specifically designed, you can use it as a regular tarot deck, but it's also specifically designed to explore the shadow self and shadow concepts. So if you're doing some work where you want to dive into those darker aspects of the self, it's a really great deck. The book it comes with those shadow interpretations are amazing, and it's not the same as just reverse card interpretations. It's a different little setup. So the first card I drew, and again, the question I asked is, what shadow traits are going to be amplified during this full moon, this lunar eclipse that's happening tonight? Okay, so I'll hold this up. The card I drew is the Eight of Wands, all right? And as you can see, we've got a mermaid. That's what she's supposed to be. She's kind of laying there. She's got the wands up there that she's sort of sending out into the world. That's the energy that she's projecting, okay? And she's exposed, right? She's got herself completely exposed here. She is vulnerable, right? She's opened herself up to this vulnerability to send that energy out into the world, okay? Now, eights are a card of nearing completion of a cycle or a space between is a really good way to think of eights. So eights are something that on the journey, if you think of the journey from 1 to 10, right? We think of numerologically. Eights are sort of that the journey is mostly over or the project is mostly finished. You're in this waiting pattern or this holding pattern before the next phase happens, before the next evolution, or before you're reset to start again because whatever happened didn't go right. So that's what an 8 is, just in general, okay? So it's that holding pattern. You're waiting for the next thing to happen. So you're waiting for something to occur. You're waiting for information. You're waiting for a person to show up. You're waiting for some sort of assistance, okay? So that's what, in general, the Eight of Wands is sort of, we're sending out this desire. We're sending out this intention, this idea, this want, okay? So from a shadow perspective, are you sitting back and waiting for other people to do this for you? Is this something that you should be acting on, but you're not because you're waiting for someone else to do it, okay? So this could be a number of different things. Career related, perhaps there's a project, right? That needs to get done and you and a team of people are working on it and you're assuming, and I'm going to be real because this is me. I am this person. I hate working with teams and groups because I am that if you want something done right, do it yourself, okay? And inevitably, there's always that one person you have to work with that doesn't pull their fucking weight, right? They don't do their share, and it's frustrating. Or perhaps they do a shitty job and you have to redo the work for them, okay? So that could be an example of career-wise, but maybe this is like you want a promotion, right? And you're just expecting your boss to look at you and go, hey, I should promote that person, right? Or maybe you've applied for a new job, right? Maybe you've been out of work because of all the situation going on right now. You're unemployed and you've applied for a new job and you're just waiting for them to call you back. Have you called and emailed them and said, hey, I applied for this. I just wanted to make sure you got my, because hiring managers, I know people who work in HR, they always say, typically, we appreciate when somebody is interested enough to follow up because it shows that you take initiative and that you're going to be assertive, and that's what they're looking for, right? So that's a good example, career-wise, how this might relate to. Are you waiting for someone else to do something for you? Right now, socially, right, what's going on in our country is protests. We have this massive social injustice that's been happening, this oppressive system that people of color have been living under since the beginning of our fucking nation. Even before the United States of America existed as an entity, there has been racism and systemic oppression. And are you someone that's still sitting there waiting for someone else to do something about it? Because that's how we get into situations like this in the first place, is everyone sits around and assumes that someone else is going to act, right? They assume someone else is going to do something about it. It's the bystander effect. This is what they study in crime, right? And law enforcement, when they look at somebody being attacked in the street and someone shouts, call 911, and everyone stands around and films it because they all assume someone else is going to call 911, right? So how many of you are picking up the phone and calling 911? Not literally, unless that's actually what you need to do, but I mean figuratively, whatever the event or change is that you seek in your life, are you doing something about it? Because the shadow self right now being amplified tonight is inaction. And inaction is considered action. Now, sometimes inaction is warranted, right? Sometimes you might want to wait until you get more information. But let's say you're in a situation where action needs to be taken. Are you waiting for someone else to act? Because no one has your best interests in mind as much as you do, okay? So this potential element of the shadow self could be amplified over this full moon lunar eclipse tonight. Don't let this hold you back and make you inactive, okay? Second card. So the deck that I'm using, second deck I'm using, the Occult Tarot. These cards I'm drawing, I find that they complement the Darkwood Tarot very well. This is a deck based off of the Goetic demons, essentially. And I use this deck to basically clarify, all right, so we've identified how might the shadow self be impacting, or what is the shadow self doing right now? And then this card is our, how can we use that to our advantage or overcome that obstacle or barrier that the shadow self is going to present as, okay? And so that's the question that this card is answering. This is our clarification. So this is what came up. And I like this deck because it does complement that particular exploration of the self very well, and I feel like it functions well as a tool for shadow self exploration. And Baal represents or resonates most with the Emperor. And if you're familiar, obviously, with the Emperor and the major arcana, this is the card of ultimate balance, foundation, drawing boundaries or asserting boundaries. This is where we have ultimate stability, right? The Emperor associates with the number 4, right? Which is that foundation, that cornerstone, that unshakable surface on which we build, okay? So this is that structured, routine, stoic, dependable, right? That perfect foundation that's created right now is then something that you can continue to build upon in the future. So from just a standard translation, that's what's going on. This is the builder, the protector. But this is what it's telling us is right now is when habits are formed, order is created, and results are seen. This is an action card. This is telling us that sheer force of will is needed. That's what the Emperor is. The Emperor does whatever needs to get done regardless. Nothing stops him, right? He has his ultimate goal in mind. And so in order to overcome that shadow self showing up tonight, as the Earth's shadow passes over the moon, we need to use our sheer force of will rather than sit back with that inaction, right? Unless inaction is warranted and you need more information, you're not sure, you have doubts. But if you know what the outcome needs to be, rather than sitting back and taking no action, sheer force of will, okay? This is that get shit done. Own your power. You have the power to make change. Don't let anything hold you back. But more importantly, what the Emperor is cool, calm, and collected, right? At all times, the Emperor is in control. More importantly, in control of himself. So self-control is going to be the ultimate fix, or how do we combat that potential negative impact from the shadow self tonight over that full moon lunar eclipse. Self-control. Be in control of yourself. Be in control of your situation. You're in control of your destiny too, right? So if you're out there protesting, be in control of yourself. Don't get wrapped up in the moment. Peaceful protest, obviously, but there are forces out there that want these protests not to be peaceful, right? They want the police to have basically an excuse to engage violently, right? We've seen this. We've seen the videos of white supremacist groups showing up and inciting violence. Okay, so be in control of yourself, be in control of your actions. Help others be in control of themselves. The full moon, some people have no idea how much it amplifies the energy that they have, and sometimes that's amazing when it's creatively applied, when it's applied peacefully or to breaking down systems of oppression and seeking justice, right? But when it's just let out there chaotically, bad things happen, okay? So we want change, we want to assert ourselves, we want to have that control, we want to tear down what doesn't work for us, absolutely. But we have to do it in ways that are going to build us up, right? We want to lay that foundation. So tonight is a perfect time to lay that foundation. So right now, tonight is let your intentions be known. Put your intentions out there. Don't sit back. Don't wait for someone else to put their intentions out there. Put your intentions into the mix. Add those to the messages going out there right now energetically to the universe. We're done with this. Everything's got to change. We're going to make this change. We're going to be part of this change. Put that out there, right? So that's part of it. But then go do something. Take action. Don't sit back. Don't assume someone else is going to take that action for you, because they're not, right? Cool, calm, and collected. You are in control. You are the master of your own destiny, or mistress, right? So that was our shadow read again tonight. We had 8 of Wands. Are you sitting back and waiting for someone else to take action? And the Emperor, you are in control. So take control, have self-control. Shitty Trader Joe's wine in a shitty mason jar. Toast to you guys. Happy Friday. I will be here tomorrow, just as a reminder. I promised that I would jump on. We had a conversation last weekend about how tarot decks are not ethnically inclusive and diverse. And so I do have a post up. If you look on my feed, there's a post titled Tarot Decks Are Whitewashed and What You Can Do About It. I did create a list. There's probably at least a couple dozen decks that I was able to find just through basic internet searches of decks that are inclusive of people of color. Some of them are even inclusive of LGBTQ populations as well. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing an unboxing of a deck that I got this week, the Ancestral Path Tarot. There's another deck that I ordered, the Mott Tarot, and it has been printed and shipped, but I haven't received it yet. I thought I would get it before this weekend, but I didn't. So we'll be doing an unboxing, and then we'll do a little bit more shadow work. So it's Friday. Get out there, take action, but be in control of that action. Don't sit back and wait for this to do something for you. You go do it.